Arlene, welcome back to Focus on the Family.
So good to be with you. Thanks for having me.
Arlene, you share a great story about a young girl at your children's elementary school, I think it was. What did she say that made you realize there's a problem with the way kids are treating adults these days?
I was volunteering and we were going to play a relay race, which sounds fun enough. And the kids were supposed to get in line. And I saw a volunteer say, "Please get in line." And a little third grader say, "Make me." And I thought, make me? Can you imagine if your grandmother was at school and said, "Make me"? You know, there is no such thing. That did not happen in previous generations.
Them are fighting words.
So that really made me think, what has made this kind of attitude, this boldness in children, that they feel okay saying those kinds of things? You know, I have been in church and I have volunteered and I have shushed a child just to have a child look at me like, "Who are you to tell me to be quiet?"
Really?
You know, you're the one talking while the other person's talking at the microphone. And so I have experienced this, and I'm sure many of our listeners have seen this bold change. Maybe you're in education and you see it in your classroom. You're a mom or dad. You see it in your home. And so that's what really made me think I want to address this in Parents Rising, that as parents, we've got to rise up to show that, hey, this is not right. You need to respect authority. And that's something worth teaching our children.
Well, that's a great point. Let's get to the basics, though. Why do kids have that sense of entitlement? What is making that happen?
So we can say, oh, it's the culture around them. It's social media. It's the music, that
Everything
popular
out
music.
there.
Everything out there is destroying my child. And yes, we live in an ungodly culture. But, you know, you look at these people like Daniel in the Babylonian culture. I'm sure that was a lot harder to live back then than it is now. So my heart is, let's not blame the culture for what has happened to children. Let's look at our families. And can my children respect me? And let's start there.
In the book, you talk about 8 key strategies, but let's take a look at some of them. Let's go ahead and give us the 8, and then I'm going to come back and pick 2 or 3.
Sounds great. The first strategy is amusement is not the highest priority. Your life does not have to revolve around entertaining your child with a cell phone.
I'm guilty.
Number 2 is parents call the shots. You are the leader, not your child. Number 3 is routine and boundaries provide security, that your kids need guardrails. Number 4 is the Bible and prayer are present daily. So not just on Sundays, and then we live like every other family on the block, but you see this woven into the fabric of our lives. You see the Bible, you hear us pray. Number 5 is marriage takes a front seat, that, you know, when kids come into the picture, the marriage can go in the trunk for 18 years. And so bring that marriage back as a priority relationship.
Some people are saying, ouch, when they hear that, because it's so true.
Right.
And it's easy to fall into that one. We'll come back to that.
Yep. And number 6 is good food served on the table. So the food of conversation around a table, and then nutritional food. So we're not living on chips and soda. And number 7 is love is spelled Time, and it's that good old time that you need to spend with your kids. And then number 8 is launching adults, not babying children, that it's not our job to keep them for life. It's our job to send them off for life.
Well, let's look at number 2. Parents call the shots. That can sound autocratic. Describe for us what you mean by that. Give us a couple of illustrations of how that works.
This is so simple. If we can just simply get Ephesians 6, children, obey your parents, and we just get that. And it's what the Word of God says. It is the 5th commandment, honor your father and mother so that it will go well with you in the land that you're living. And so this is how God has set it up. So even if we are more comfortable being on an equal plane, being a best friend, being, you know, your supporter and your buddy, if that, you know, but the Bible's telling us you are the authority figure. And that authority figure doesn't have to be this mean, strict, you know, awful. No, this is an authority figure that is loving, that's providing guidance. Because I think many of us as parents, we want to be chummy instead of saying, I'm not afraid to be unpopular, to make decisions that I know are good for you. You know, so that whole idea of honor and bringing that back. The kingdom of God is not a democracy. And so we have to learn how to bow to a king. And in the same way, I'm not saying your kids have to bow to you or worship you, no, but your kids have to learn there is an order to life. There are people above you to be honored.
Here's the question of the day.
Okay.
You ready, John?
I'm dialed
This is
in.
it. The question of the day. How can we encourage obedience in our children.
That's right. It's like, I want them to honor me. How do I get them to honor me?
Yeah,
right?
right.
How do I
Yeah.
actually get them to believe I have seniority
This is
in
the
this
obedient
relationship?
part,
Yes.
right.
So in the book, I outline 4 ways to help your kids obey. And I will say the overarching principle here is the belief that you are worthy of obeying. You know, if you're second guessing yourself, well, maybe they shouldn't obey me. I'm not a really good parent. Maybe I don't know what I'm doing. So it has to begin with you realizing I am to be honored. I am to be obeyed because I'm a parent. So first of all, you can set up clear expectations. Sometimes they don't know to obey because they simply don't even know what they're doing. The second thing is practice, practice, practice. So let's say you're having trouble in the grocery store because they're loud or they, they're real whiny about what they want, etc. You go to the grocery store just for practice, not to get the stuff on your list, but just to practice. This is how we go to the grocery store. And when they throw their fit, oh, we're leaving. And
just go.
and there's a punishment there. And maybe if they did it well, it would be, hey, you get to pick something out because you did really well in the grocery store.
Yeah.
So you're practicing. The third thing is drama. So some of your kids love drama. And so it is the idea of, okay, it's the first day of school. Let's act this out. I'm the teacher. This is how you, and use drama to act out. This is how you
that kind of
act.
drama.
Yeah,
I thought you were saying kids are just
not
drama.
Not the other drama. So physically use drama. I'm your teacher. You're in a new school setting. Here's what we do. Here's what we expect of you to obey. And then the last may be the most powerful, and it's praying specifically, God, give my child an obedient heart.
Yeah.
Give my child a moldable heart, a heart that seeks wisdom, a heart that seeks knowledge. God, give them that. And those are ways you can help your child be obedient to you.
Arlene, I want to make sure that we balance this with, I'm thinking of, we could just pick a stereotypical situation, maybe the overbearing father, to leave it in that kind of category. Certainly moms can be that way as well. How do we recognize in ourselves that we're not loving our children? We're only about the rules. We're only confrontational. We're only demanding. Sometimes we can feel a little bit of guilt in that area, especially if you're in the heat of battle there trying to get your kids to be obedient. And then you feel guilty, like I was over the top. How do you know when you are too consistently over the top?
Many parents, they err towards being too gracious to their kids. But for the parents that like, wow, I'm maybe too strict. And that comes that strategy that love is spelled time, that if you're going to have the rules, you also have to have fun time, that you need that relationship with your child, that you have to ask yourself, are there times that I'm actually having fun with my child? Like, do we laugh together? Do we smile together? You need to ask this question because it's true. You do need the rules, but you must have the relationship or those rules don't mean a thing. And so with your kids, just know they're really never too young or too old to learn the new boundaries you put into place. Maybe the new boundary is, hey, your cell phone is being charged in my room overnight instead of your room overnight to your teenager. And that's a new boundary, and you can enforce that. Your kids can do more than you think, and you can enforce boundaries early, and it makes your life easier as they grow up.
Well, it's working, and that's what counts.
Yep.
All right, strategy 7, love is spelled time. You've mentioned it 3 or 4 times. Be specific. People talk quantity, quality. You're counseling me as a parent. What should I be aware of?
So find an activity that you like together. So many families, we watch each other do stuff, but we don't do anything together. And believe me, this is a stretch. I am so non-athletic. I took bowling for my college sport, so it's like I am not.
No dice on paper.
I am not.
That's enough.
Exactly.
We're good.
But
Event right
obviously, I am not this amazing athlete, and so we have done biking, we've done rollerblading, skiing, whatever. All these things to be together as a family. It could be chess. It could be board games. It could be sitting at the library together. It could be learning how to cook together. But choose an activity where you can spend time, because that's really good for boys. Boys don't want to just sit and talk to you. Like, let's have coffee and talk.
Even your
They
face
don't-
right
they
there.
don't- like, what? Sour.
boy wants to do that? But a boy will bike with you. A boy will fish with you.
Board games.
A boy will do a board game
We
with
do
you.
a lot of board games.
So pick things that your family can do together so that you are actually spending time, because that communicate so much love to them.
But your strategy 8, launching adults, not babying children, what are you driving at there, and how do we launch effectively?
Yeah, it's the idea that don't do for your kids what they can do for themselves. So you don't have to pack your lunch for your 8th grader. You don't have to do laundry for your high schooler. You don't have to do those things. They can do that themselves. You used to talk about the lawnmower, the mower. So my husband James was teaching Ethan how to mow the lawn. He's upper elementary school, is teaching him how to mow the lawn. And so I go around the corner and I see Ethan struggling with a big grass bag trying to put it in our yard waste. And I just see him struggling. Oh, Ethan, I'll help you. And I pull open the waste bucket so he can do it, right? James comes around the corner. What are you doing? I said, I'm helping Ethan. No, don't help Ethan. And I'm like, why can't I help Ethan? Come to find out, James had just had this talk with him saying, you can do this. You just have to prop open the lid and then you dump the grass in. You can do this. You got this. You can do this. And then, of course, he finds that mom is hovering, fixing it, right? Doing the lawn.
Oh,
So it
yeah.
was so funny. So a man will look at that and say, my son is becoming a young man, right? And then we moms can say, oh, look at the poor baby. He needs
can't
mommy.
do it.
He needs mommy to lift up the trash can for him, And so the roles can be reversed, but oftentimes there is a person, usually the mom, that is like, oh, let me get this for you. Let me help you. And we rescue everything. And moms and dads, we have to calm down. We got to let our kids figure stuff out on their own.
All right, let's move to ROBS. You've got an acronym, ROBS. What is it? And let's touch on a couple of them.
The idea here is just finding out what those values are that are important to your family. So as you launch those adults, what do you want your kids to remember from your home? And so we took this from Coach Lou Holtz and kind of
That's
changed
pretty good.
it. Yeah, we figured that was a good source.
This is what he would teach his players.
He would teach his players. So the R stands for right, do what's right. The O stands for do unto others as you would have them do to you. The B stands for do your best, work with excellence. And the S is smile, like go through life and
like
smile at other people. So as you go through life and we're launching these adults, you can talk about it, so if something happened at school, well, did you do the right thing? Did you think of others? Did you do your best? Did you try for excellence? And were you smiling? Were you pleasant, kind? So it just helps them guide that these are the values that are important to us as a family. And so you can talk about that as a family. When your child leaves your nest, what are the things that, that's what a daily would do. That's what a Fuller would do. What are those things that you want your family to be known for?
I like that. I may print that out. We can post that at the website with your permission, Arlene.
Absolutely.
Just those 4, and that'd be something for your family to adopt or adapt, right?
Yes, absolutely.
The big question at the end here is, why is failure so important? What does it teach us? And there are so many biblical references to this. I don't think you can find a strong character in the Bible that didn't go through failure or through a valley. Let's just think of King David.
Yeah.
But there's so many others. Almost every person that God uses, he brings through a difficult time to teach them and train them. And why should it be any different for our children?
I think what we have to concentrate on here is resiliency. So, have your children realize they're not going to do everything perfectly, and that's okay. And if you don't make the team, that's all right. Because, don't go in there as a parent saying, why didn't my kid make the team? My kid's the best one out there. You better put my kid in there. No.
Wow, there is so much of that.
Let your kid fail so that when they're an adult and they don't get chosen for the promotion, they can handle that.
Yeah.
When they ask the girl for the date and she says no, they can handle that. Yeah. It's very important to teach your children failure so they can succeed later in life.
Arlene, this has been terrific. It's flown by. Parents Rising, that movie near you. Parents Rising. But what a great book, and what terrific material for parents to help that resiliency, developing that resiliency in your children. That is so good. But Arlene, it's been great having you back.
Thanks so much for having me.